Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
Good morning, everybody. We are live at Canada's Outdoor Farm Show in Woodstock, Ontario. And today, I have a fantastic guest with me. Elaine Froese is a speaker, she is an author, and she's a farm business consultant, coach.
Farm family coach.
Farm family coach. And Elaine specializes in helping farmers through some of those difficult transitions around succession, business, and the subject we all love the most, communication.
Yes.
Fun. So welcome, Elaine.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. I wanted to that was a bit of a tip of the iceberg introduction. Can you talk to our audience a little bit more about what you do, the type of work that you do with farmers?
I have lots of adventures. So I call myself a farm family coach. Okay. I've been working with farm families for 40 years this November, but mostly since 1993, I was asked by the Manitoba government and Manitoba Agriculture to go into farm kitchens with my flip chart and do family communication facilitation around what transition planning and succession was going to look like. And so that 10 years later transitioned into me to getting a coaching certificate with Hudson Institute in Santa Barbara when I discovered there is a thing called coaching. And that same year I did a mediation and conflict certificate in Winnipeg with Mediation Services. I did do farm debt mediation for about 10 years from 2005 to 2015.
Okay.
So for the last 15 years I've built a business around helping farm families get three things: clarity of expectations, certainty around timelines and agreements, and a commitment to action. And when you said communication, it makes me smile because most people, when I ask what's their main desire for coaching, they say communication, communication, communication.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm wired, Tracy, and that's where I can help.
Oh, excellent. So I actually wanted to ask you that. Did you choose farm business coaching, or did it choose you?
It's just the way I'm wired. So there's a book called Strength Finder 2.0. You can do
Yes, I've done it.
Yeah. So my 5 strengths are communication, empathy, lifelong learning, woo, which is winning others over quickly, and positivity. So no matter how bad things get or how tough the issues are, I always see hope. And that's what farm families tell me I give them. So the comments I get back on my feedback sheets is, you've given me a sense of hope.
Nice.
I know I have options. I know I have choices. I feel like 10 pounds lighter. And the other thing they usually say is, I wish I would have met you 10 years ago. Yeah, and that part makes me sad, because then I know they've been in a very hard place for a very long time.
Okay, wow. And I've done Strength Finder, and those are all amazing. You're right where you need to be. And it's so funny how different individuals are different. I have totally different, so I could see how you would be amazing with those strengths for what you do. So you have been working with farm families for many, many, many years. And I believe you've worked with over 600?
I think probably close to 1,000 now.
Wow. So I imagine you have seen it all, heard it all. Are there any memorable stories? We all relate and share and learn through stories. Are there any memorable stories?
The ones that touch me the most, Tracy, are when people say, when I was a student coach back in 2003, a woman said, Elaine, thank you for giving me my husband back.
Oh, wow.
And all I had done was facilitate meetings between two brothers who were farming together. One was really loving grain, one was really loving cattle. They didn't want their sons farming together, and so I just helped them separate. So people say, oh, separation is bad. No, separation and change can be really, really good. So I remember that. And then I also remember just last week, I called a ranch in Alberta, or this ranch was in the interior of BC. Anyway, I work in some amazing places, or have gone to some amazing, and this ranch was actually used as a movie set with Robert Redford.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a really nice ranch.
Yeah.
And I called to tell one of my clients about my audiobook and some other stuff that was happening, and she said, Elaine, this is really weird. I haven't heard from you like in 2 or 3 years, and we just talked about you yesterday. And so again, they have a sense of, if we need to have an intervention or have somebody come and help keep it safe and respectful and move us through to the next stage, then they know that they can call me anytime. And that's what excellent. They would do. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, because having a family farm business coach is not something everybody might think of. And our goal here at Impact Farming is to bring our audience the people and ideas that will impact their farm operation. And in the business world, having a coach is all the rage.
Yes.
And it's huge in farming. But I imagine, just like myself, there might be a lot of farmers not aware of that. So they might be going, okay, why do I need a coach?
Well, the other thing that viewers need to understand is, and this is what I typically say to families, is that counseling is about recovery, but coaching is about discovery. So coaching is a practice where you help people design how they want their life to go forward. And in farming, I have my 2 little rings. So we have a family system, and we have the farm business system. So I focus a lot on the family side in terms of relationships and communication and conflict resolution, which of course impact the business side, right? And I also want my families to understand that conflict resolution is a business risk management strategy. So I actually have a new domain called farmfamilycoach.ca, because most people get my name mixed up. I always say I'm Elaine from Boisamine, and it keeps it easy, but it doesn't help them find my website.
Oh yeah.
So farmfamilycoach.ca or .com will get to me. So what farmers also need to understand is there's a huge sense of anxiety and overwhelm, Tracy, so they don't know where to start. Like yesterday I spoke here at the farm show about finding fairness in farm transition, and one of the texts that I got while I was speaking was, who do we talk to first?
Oh,
and so families,
good question.
Yes, so families really want to know, what do I need to do? And the other thing a man in my audience asked me yesterday was, is 60 a good age to start at 30? And I said, well, there's no pat answer, but thanks for asking the question. And I gave him my binder tabs. So when you're wanting to use coaching, that's one of the tabs, because that's the communication, conflict, vision piece, and values, what the family really values. I have an actual tool called the conflict dynamic profile that you do online, just like Strengths Finders. And I can tell you what your hot buttons are.
Oh, really?
Your husband might know. Well, he already knows.
I'm sure he knows. Or not, because I don't have any.
Well, I do.
Isn't that the denial?
I'll tell you mine.
I'm just joking.
No,
I'm well aware.
I have 2 really good ones. So my hot buttons are people who are aloof. So people who won't talk to me, because love does not read minds. Like you can't read the person. And people who are unreliable. And so that really pushes my buttons. So I use myself as an example with my families. And again, I have a huge toolbox. And again, anyone watching this can just go to my website and get 19 free tools on my Farm Family Toolkit.
Oh wow, that's neat. You know what I'm doing right after?
Yeah.
What's my hot buttons? You know, and I love that, because communication is life. That's relationships, that's work, and when you bring that into business, it's everywhere. It's so important, and I find sometimes people like to call it the soft issues, and it's not.
It's the foundation.
It's the most important thing of anything in life. So I'm so happy that you touched on that. And sometimes people go, oh no, we won't see a coach, we don't bring somebody in until we can't get along.
No, but farmers are very private, they're very entrepreneurial, right? They're very independent, very stoic, and that's where things break down. And the cost of divorce is pretty high, emotionally and in all other ways to your family. So communication for keeping the family strong and the foundation of your business strong is really, really important. And we all go through seasons of change. I'm 61 years old now. I have a son who's turning 30, who is our co-manager and successor. My daughter-in-law is going to live in a house right across the shelter belt line from me. So when I work with farm families, I go, hey, I'm going through the same stuff. Yeah, I'm walking the same journey they are.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay, good. That gives us a great foundation of a farm business coach. I love that. where I want to go when we were thinking of the many, many different topics that we can talk about today, you cover such a scale of topics, and I want to cover them all. And I'm sure we're going to
do one at a time, Tracy.
Yeah, we're going to do one at a time. I'm sure we're going to chat a few more times, but today I want to really get you to share some wisdom on something that is very prevalent, a lot of farmers are dealing with right now, and it's the Big D. Yes. And when I say the Big D, I don't mean divorce, I mean drought. Right now we are in fall 2018, and many people across Canada, across North America, around the world are dealing with a lot of drought. And I have some friends, people I know, this might not even be their first year of bad crop. So I love to help people. I wish I could fix everybody's problems. So most importantly, I wanted to bring your wisdom on the show. I know you farm and you've been through some tough times and you've dealt with 1,000 families. So I wanted to get you to share some wisdom on drought. Let's say you're sitting across the table from a young couple. They're in a bad place.
Well, I've already started speaking with some of them on Twitter.
Okay.
Because on Twitter, of course, it's very instant in terms of saying, you know, the lentil crop is horrible.
Yes.
Or the prices of lentils in Saskatchewan and with Indian trade tariffs and stuff has really been awful. And I just read a piece in the Western Producer by Kevin Hirsch around paying attention to the financials this year because the yields aren't what some people expected, and in some cases they're different, and it's very patchy, and you know, down the road or your brother farming on another part of the province could be in a totally different situation. So the first thing is what we just talked about, is communication. And when I did farm debt mediation, when families have financial struggles, can't pay the bills, are wondering, have a lot of financial stress, the first thing they should do is talk to each other. So as a couple, talk to what's our game plan here. And of course, paring back the non-essentials, or what's most important, what do we hang on to, what can we let go. But then the second conversation is to your lender or the people that you owe debt to.
Perfect.
And again, in those farm debt mediation meetings, I would say, I was the mediator, and the recovery plan would be put together by the farm recovery expert. But again, it all comes back to, have you had a conversation? Have you gone into your lender and said, you know, the projections are really bad. We're not going to make what we thought. This is what we can do, but we can't do this, right?
Okay.
So that's just really important. And again, when we talk about stress, it's so important not to keep it inside. And farmers are notorious for being isolation, or they pull inward when they're having tough times rather than opening outward. And so in Manitoba, we have rural support.ca, which is the farm stress line, and people might not know, but it has a chat box now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can go on at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're not sleeping. Go and talk to the people at ruralsupport.ca in their chat box. And I just discovered, unfortunately, the farm stress line in Saskatchewan is no more.
Oh, okay.
So we are very fortunate in Manitoba to have that.
Okay.
So talking to your spouse, your partner, talking to your lender, not keeping it inside. And we also now have Do More Ag Foundation, which I'm a sponsor of. And
so are we.
I'm a depression survivor, so that's a whole other story, another thing we could do. But when you see the mental health of the family shifting, the other thing I do recommend, Tracy, is also going to the doctor. Because when you're under a lot of financial stress, you don't eat properly, you typically don't sleep properly, and you may need help to sleep better. There's also Amanda's website, sleepwell.com. So in Saskatchewan, there are sleep coaches for farmers.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
No, it's a great company.
Excellent.
Sleepwell.com. And I had a farmer once who phoned me and he said, Elaine, I'm in really bad shape. I'm making terrible decisions. What's wrong with me? And I said, okay, first of all, Charlie, have you been to a doctor? He said, not since I got my semi-license renewed, which is typical. I said, okay, go to a doctor and find out physically if something could be wrong.
Right.
He emails me back 3 weeks later and he says, thank you. he had a thyroid condition.
Oh, wow.
And he had sleep apnea.
Oh.
So he had two very physical reasons why he wasn't doing well. And again, to me, it's just common sense, because my mother was a nurse before she became a farmer, and I always start with the basic physical things off the list, and so it's physical care as well. So
sometimes we don't think of that, right? Because every day farmers work so hard physically. There's that mental toll. So do they feel tired, lethargic, whatever? Probably.
And then in Manitoba too, on the mental health side, you can go into the intake line or phone the mobile crisis number and just ask for the intake number for Manitoba Health. Just tell them you're looking for a mental health worker. Okay. And mental health workers are all over the province, and they're your mental health workers. So they're people that you can talk to on a regular basis and make appointments with to help work through what you're going through. Now, if it gets really bad and you think you can't make your payments, you can also reach out to the Farm Debt Mediation Service and do a voluntary mediation.
Okay.
And so again,
share about that.
Okay, so there's no shame in doing that.
Okay.
But you reach out to Farm Debt Mediation and make the application, and then start a voluntary mediation.
Okay.
And see if you qualify for that. And then that gives you a field expert who can come to your farm and look at your numbers and help realign your cash flow and your debt servicing. And then with that recovery plan, then you go to your creditors and you have the mediation.
Okay.
And it's and it's also confidential.
That's
right.
Important.
So a lot of people, I think, have forgotten about that, Tracy, because I didn't
even know about that.
Well, I got married in 1981. So I got married. We didn't get married actually in 1980 because of the drought of 1980.
Oh, really?
And you think, well, now we think, why did we not get married? It was a stupid reason, but we just thought,
it was right.
We'd have a better crop the next year and more money or whatever. So drought affected the year we got married, actually. So anyway,
that's probably more common than you actually think.
Right. Yeah. And then the other concern I have is people will take on more off-farm work or whatever. And
that's natural.
Right.
Yes.
But then you also have to count the cost of doing that, because way back, maybe 10 years ago, the Home Economist did a study, and for a woman to go and work off farm was actually going to cost her $7,000 in a year in terms of clothing, more convenience meals, gas, other things. And I know one of my friends on Twitter has told me her husband is going back to the oil patch because of the lentils thing. Okay. So again, you either have to decrease your spending, trim your expenses, or increase your income, or do both, right? There's got to be some adjustment. But the other thing for dealing with financial stress, because I am a home economist by degree, I would also get people to track their living expenses.
I love that. Budget.
Because it's called, well, no, not budget. I'm terrible at budgeting. I don't have a budget, but I'm an abundant place that I don't have to worry about that, which I'm very thankful for. But I do track what I spend because I know tracking what you spend just gives you an indication of, I need $70,000 a year for family living, or maybe the next person needs $84,000. And if you have kids in hockey, people who have kids in hockey don't want to track what they spend, because they know they're spending $3,000 to $5,000 on hockey every winter, right?
It's expensive.
Okay, but so you're not going to give up your kid playing hockey, because that's important for family development and whatnot. So then what is going to shift? And then the other piece is asking for help. See, farmers are very proud.
Yes.
And to know that things aren't going well, and maybe we can go back to a barter economy. So, for instance, I own a scraper, but not by ourselves with our own farm. We share it with another family. And we used to have a pea roller that we owned 3 families.
Oh, okay.
And people say, people still do that? I go, yes. In our
great idea.
Well, again, equipment sharing or labor sharing or bartering. I'll do this for you, will you do this for me, right?
Yeah.
And so then we get into that barter economy that people forget about. So there are creative ways to deal with financial stress. And then the drought thing also is accessing government services that are free, that have farm business management specialists who can help you out, and there's no charge for their consulting.
Okay.
And those are harder to find, but again, there may be something that you can access that way as well.
That's excellent. That is a lot of really good information. And as I was saying, I like to fix and help people. So I really wanted to bring you on because I'm sure a lot of people are sitting there at the kitchen table in the middle of the night, stressing out, not sure where to even start, and everything you just said is amazing.
Well, and I also want especially spouses to watch out for each other, because depression runs in both of my families and my husband's family, and so it's genetic as well. And when people's behavior starts shifting because of stress, depression can also be circumstantial, Tracy. So a really bad drought, really bad financial pressure can bring on significant mental health issues, and if that's the case, don't ignore it. Do something about it, because if you nip it in the bud, even in conflict resolution, if you nip something in the bud when it's small, you have more energy and resources to solve that. But if you let it get really, really big, then that gap gets too huge to do what you call the fixing part. Smart. And I think it's kind of ironic, we have like this pond of water behind us here in Woodstock.
How ironic.
You know, and people would love to see a pond like that in their slough that's been dry all summer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is some hard stuff to talk about, and I know, as you said, farmers are tough, strong people, and we don't want to talk about that, but you know what, that's the reality. Sometimes we have those hard years that we got to work through, so that is great advice. I wanted to maybe shift and end on a bit of a lighter note and really talk about your mission and purpose and what you love about working with farm families.
Again, it goes back to the way I'm wired, Tracy. My worldview is Christian, so I see hope, I see light, I see compassion, I see the ability to exhibit love and respect in the family. And so what I love is when I can look a father in the eye and I said, how good did that feel to have your son say, I appreciate you, Dad, I'm proud of what you've done for me.
Oh dear.
And, I know. So
geez.
I have the gift of making men cry. So
I believe it.
But that's because as a coach, I create a sacred space for silence to do the heavy lifting. So there's a lot of heavy things that we talk about, but that's good because that becomes a healing place to say, and I had this happen to me again yesterday. A man came up to me and he said, Elaine, that card that you talked about that your son writes to your husband about, dear Dad, I appreciate you, thank you for all you've given me.
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, so some people have different love languages. So Gary Chapman wrote this book called The 5 Love Languages. So and it relates to what your question is about, what I love about working with farm families. So my love language is verbal affirmation. I'm a writer. I love words, but also meaningful touch. So lots of hugs and affection, because that's how I grew up. I was kissed goodnight every night. My mother tucked me in and said, good night, precious. Every night.
That's sweet.
So I was 22.
Oh, that's sweet.
And left home.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so my husband's love language would be acts of service. So if I have hot meals cooking when he walks in the door, or if I clean up and armor all his Chevy truck, or if I spend 3 hours helping him clean up his seed plant office, he feels deeply loved and affirmed. My son's love language would be quality time. So if you go hunting or fishing with him, that would be his. And my daughter's is gifts. So if I travel to Woodstock and I happen to buy a Starbucks mug for her in London, Ontario, she'll be really happy. So in farm families, yesterday I mentioned the best gift that my son gives my husband is a card that says, I appreciate you, Dad, for all you've done for me, for sharing this farm for me. You're awesome and you're a great grandpa. I love you so much. Love, Ian.
That's
well,
sweet.
This man said, Elaine, that's all I really want. And his wife was doing what you're doing right now. She was tearing up because my friend Pierretto Desrochers, who writes a wonderful column in Country Guide, is a clinical psychologist in Quebec who is my friend, and she says 80% of decisions in farming are emotional. So I just want your audience to understand it's okay to be emotional when you're a farmer. It's okay to say, I think, I feel, I need, I want. I think, Tracy, it's time we talk about this. I feel there's something that's come between us. I want us to be able to be happy to work shoulder to shoulder on this farm, and I want the tension to stop.
Nice.
So you see, you have a script.
Wow.
I think, I feel, I need, I want. And so what I love about working with farm families is that I have the skill to help them shift their language. And on my website, I have a tool called The Phrase That Pays, because I sat down with a wonderful ranch family in Alberta and they said, Elaine, you have all these great one-liners. Can you put them all in one place? And it is. It's called The Phrase That Pays, and people can ask for it. But it's like, that was then, this is now.
Yeah.
Okay, that was yesterday. Things are not the same. We're in a drought situation. That was then, this is now. We need to deal with the now, right?
Yes.
Another one is, love does not read minds, which is back to my aloof thing.
Yeah.
I can't read your mind. You have to speak and ask me really good questions. So what I love working with farm families is I've got to see amazing farms all over North America, but now I work mostly from my home by Zoom.us. So I do video conferencing. So if a family wants to work with me, they just have to email me, and then we start a contract and we start all these issues that we talk about, and they self-identify on my key challenge sheet. I need to talk about fairness, or I need to be better at listening, or I need better conflict resolution skills, or I need better financial certainty, or I need to know about decreasing the anxiety about the uncertainty of my future. And people check this off. And then of course, Farmer Charlie, he checks off the whole list. I go, Charlie, that's 32 things.
Let's start with one.
Where do you want to start? Right? So that's how I work with families. And with Zoom, you can record the call and send it back to them. So I've had families say, Elaine, my wife's working, she can't be on this call. I said, that's fine, we'll record it. And then when she gets home, she can play the file and she will know what you were told.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That is very nice.
So again, when I started at the opening, Tracy, and said it's an adventure, when my phone rings, I never know what's going to be at the other end of the line.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a strong lady.
Well, and that's why I said I'm also a woman of faith, because I have a sense of hope, but I also have a model for forgiveness. So sometimes when I'm working with a highly conflicted family, my question is, what's your model of forgiveness in this family? And then they'll say, well, we don't go to church. That's not what I asked.
Yeah.
I said, how do you resolve conflict in your family?
You know, and I think you would bring something so different. I sometimes wonder why we're not taught a little bit more about communication. A lot of these things that we just spoke about, I don't know that we get that enough. In our upbringing, right?
Well, or in your schooling.
Or in schooling. And I think it's fantastic, because at the end of the day, model of forgiveness? What? Who would have ever thought of that, right?
And you look at my most popular blogs, they all tend to circle back to relationship. How to Prevent Divorce on the Farm was my most popular blog in 2016. This year it's been the one on workaholism and the 7 reality checks for workaholics, and How to Love a Farmer, which I also took some flack on, which is fine. Everybody's entitled.
I read that one too.
To how they, you know, so there's just, I mean, I have had a lot of bumps in my journey. I lost my sister to a drunk driver when she was 23. I buried my mother when she was 65. My father had Alzheimer's. And again, it happened yesterday. I'm sitting here at supper, and this man leans over and he says, Elaine, my dad has Alzheimer's. My mom has a really old will, and I'm not comfortable about the executor. What do I do? I said, call me, we'll set something up, I'll speak to your mother, and I'm an outsider, right? So emotionally, I'm not as highly invested as the family is, but I have skill around settling everybody down and getting everybody to put it on the table so that we can focus on the issue and not attack the person, but really work on that issue.
Wow. That is some amazing work that you do.
And it's been really, really gratifying.
I believe it. Changing, you know, what more can you hope for in your lifetime? Having that purpose and helping so many farm families. That's amazing.
That's why I have my books, Tracy, because if I die tomorrow, my books will still be here. And I just last week launched an audiobook, so people can just go to audible.com and Google Elaine Froese or Building Your Farm Legacy is the name of the book, because young farmers were telling me they don't have time to read.
I do all audio.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. On my commute time or when I'm outside doing some work, earphones in and audio to learn, right?
I've found reading is much more pleasurable when you're listening to a podcast.
So, Elaine, I could sit here and talk to you for hours on end and listen to your stories and your wisdom on farm business coaching. I need to wrap up. I know you have a busy day ahead of you, and I'm hoping we'll have some conversations in the future. In the meantime, I know you have so many great resources in terms of books and different resources on your website. Can you talk a little bit about what you have available?
Sure. So the best starting point is for people to go to farmfamilycoach.com or ElaineFroese.com. And the Farm Family Toolkit is right on my homepage. It comes up as a pop-up.
Okay.
And so they can sign up for that, and there's 19 different tools there that they can use. I have books. I have MP3 files of some of my speaking. I also would encourage them to go to YouTube and go to Elaine Froese, Farm Family Coach on YouTube, and my channel will come up. And my presentation that I did here at the Ontario Farm Show is finding fairness in farm transition, which a lot of people are really concerned about. And last week I just put an audio book out on audible.com.
Oh, so, excellent.
Yeah, so it's for you.
Okay, yeah.
You're the girl who likes to listen.
I'm the audio gal. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And you and all the young farmers who tell me they don't have time to read.
It's just so handy.
Right.
If you're driving somewhere, if you have the setup available as you work in the house.
So audible.com, and then Building Your Farm Legacy is the name of my book, my last book.
I'll begin that one.
Sure.
That is perfect. And you guys, I know Elaine has such great work, and what I'm going to do at the bottom of our show notes on our website, I'm going to include all those links. I'll put a link to both of those websites and everything that we spoke about today so that you guys can find it really quick. And I encourage you to check it out. On that note, I wanted to thank you for joining us. I really, really love chatting with you about some tough stuff, and I hope that everybody will take that advice to heart.
And just in closing, Tracy, I'd like to tell the listeners that it's your farm, it's your family, and it's your choice. So go out there and make good choices, because we all want to secure our legacy for the future. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.